Hello, everybody. This webinar is specific to the Project Atlas peer review panel. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at and quickly discuss, well, I'll explain the Project Atlas application. So you Google New Jersey Office of Faith-Based Initiatives. When you get to the homepage, you click Grant Opportunities, you scroll down, and what you want to do before you start grading the applications to get an understanding of what the applicants are trying to submit. So you want to click Project Atlas Grant Guidelines. Now, Project Atlas is a capacity building. It's a capacity building application, and it's targeting organizations that have a budget between $0 and $100,000, and we'll handle that internally based on what they submitted for their 990s. The focus of Project Atlas is to help emerging organizations identify capacity and/or infrastructure issues that they need to address. They need to develop a leadership team comprised of anywhere between 3 and 5 folks that will allow the organization and the leader of the organization to not operate as a lone wolf, but operate as a team. The applicants must submit a readiness assessment, and I'll quickly review that. So the readiness assessment is on the website. If you scroll down and click on readiness assessment, and this is not graded, but they need to at least submit this, which the readiness assessment is an internal assessment on the readiness of the organization to participate in Project Atlas, right? And so Project Atlas is really focusing on identifying a coach that's identified through our grantee, the support center. The coach and the leadership team will meet virtually and assess the readiness assessment. There'll be a conversation between the coach and the applicant. The coach would also read the application to get a sense of what do they understand what Project Atlas is in terms of the commitment that it takes, and they should indicate that in the application, right? And so what you want to do is, the coach will meet with them and then develop after they're awarded, of course, develop an action plan identifying, 2 or 3 action items that they'll undertake throughout the course of the contract year. And they'll work collectively with the organization to carry that out. The other part of Project Atlas is that they'll get a grant from us for $10,000 so that they get to implement the pilot project. So the capacity building and the infrastructure development is done with the navigator coach through the support center, and the implementation of the pilot project is done through us. They're in partnership with the Office of Faith-Based Initiatives. So it gives the applicant an opportunity to, because many of these applicants have never partnered with a funding source, especially a state agency. So it gives them an opportunity to, collectively work through the idea of piloting, prototyping, and testing a pilot project, seeing if it resonates with the market. We allow them to make course corrections so that they can implement, learn, and do simultaneously. And they'll also learn how to submit quarterly reports, requests for budget modifications, and learn how to communicate with a funder. So I suggest that you read the Project Atlas application, get a good understanding of what the application is about before you start reading and rating the applications. And so the other thing that's important is that the Project Atlas organizations need to submit a logic model. Now, they may not be, even though there's a webinar on logic models, you'd be surprised how many, it's not only organizations that are new and emerging, but it's also the more mature organizations that have a limited understanding of what logic models are. And so the Project Atlas organizations logic model may focus on the capacity building end of the project or may focus on the pilot project. Either one works for us. Just make sure that the resources column aligns with the budget to the best of their ability, right? Remember, these organizations have limited capacity and are fairly new to the space of funding. Activities aligns with the project design of either what they think the capacity training needs are, or what they think their pilot project might be. The outputs are the goals, the outcomes are the objectives, and the impact is, of course, the impact of either the impact of the capacity building, or if they take another take and focus more on the pilot project, the impact of the pilot project. All right. So what are we going to do now? So we're going to now access the application. And so before we do that, let me share a screen here. All right. So now we're going to talk about Sage. All right. So everybody has received their username and password, and we're going to access the application. The website for Sage is www.sage.nj.gov, www.sage.nj.gov. The browser that you can use to access Sage, on Sage stands for Systems for Administering Grants Electronically. So the browsers to use to access Sage are Safari or Microsoft Edge. Do not use Google Chrome. Google Chrome does not interface at all with Sage. And so if you use Google Chrome and you're inputting data and you're inputting your scores, it looks like you input it. And when you submit it, when we get it, it'll be a blank page. So please do not use Google Chrome. Remember to always hit the save button in Sage. Sage doesn't have an automatic save feature. So remember, when in doubt, hit save. If you have any questions, my cell phone is 732-289-1896, 732-289-1896, and my email is there. Remember that your initial scores need to be submitted no later than May 18th, and prior to May 18th, it might be a good idea for the panel to figure out when in June do they want to deliberate. Remember that the deliberation block is 4 hours anytime between Monday and Friday, and the last possible scheduled deliberation will be at 6 o'clock in that, in those hours. So I think you guys should figure that out and have a conversation, and then email us. And when you email me, make sure that everybody on the team is CC'd so that there's an agreed upon consensus there. All right. So now we're going to go to Sage. So you get your username and password. Nicole, I'm using yours. And you log on and you scroll down to My Task. And when you get to My Task, you open up the My Task box, and here are all your assigned Project Atlas grantees. Now, unlike our other grants, where in order to receive funding, you need to score 70 or higher, for Project Atlas, they need their level of success is 60 or higher, because it is our experience that a lot of the applicants in Project Atlas, because they're new to the funding and they're new to applying for funds to state agencies, and they lack the capacity and they lack the infrastructure and they lack the experience, a lot of them have a hard time, eclipsing the 70 mark. But many are within the 60 to 69 mark. So this is the only application that we allow for organizations to get a rating of 60 or higher in order to apply. And we'd like to fund as many as possible, because the reason they're applying for Project Atlas is because they need capacity building. And so the more that we're able to help, the better it is for them moving forward. So this is your application. So the initial scores will be you reading your assigned applications and inputting your initial score. So let's go to Briar Patch Collaboratory. So you click on Briar Patch Collaboratory, and you can do one or two things. You hover over Forms menu, and from the project summary on down, is the information that you need to read. So you can click on each one of these links: project summary, organizational capacity, statement of need, statement of collaboration, project design, personnel expenses, which is the budget, consulting contracts page, other cost category, overall budget, required appendices and appendices. You can read those individually, and the type is super small. So this is what you're doing if you're going to read the application directly from the website. You can do that, or what you can do is, let me go. You can hover over management tools, click create full print. Let me see if I have it up here. Yeah. You want to click create full print. And then you want to make sure that you print the letters of support, the logic model. Here's another letter of support. Here's another letter of support. So those are 3 letters of support. And then you want to make sure that you print, or at least you get a PDF version of the readiness assessment. Then you scroll up to the top and you click print version. And then Sage will do, it'll take a few seconds, well, probably about a minute, for Sage to put all those documents together. And what you'll get is a PDF, this version, which is a link, but then you can save it as a PDF of those documents, and then you can read them. It's easier to read it this way. When you have the project summary, you have the organizational capacity, you have statement of collaboration, which are 3, and then you have the statement of support letters. They have to actually submit letters of support, so you want to make sure that those support letters are here. Excuse me. Then you have the project description and design. Now, you have the project description, so you're gonna have to at least read that. And remember, this is not lengthy, right? Because each text box is about 4,000 characters. Target population, project designs, continue with project description, evaluation, and then you go into the budget, right? And remember, the grant is for $10,000, which is money that they're going to use to implement the pilot project. They might indicate, that should indicate it, and then this will be a link to the readiness assessment, and this will be the readiness assessment, right? So they have it here. It's been filled out, and then here's a logic, right? And so they have the logic model, and so that's really what you want to do in order to get the application, right? So now, in order to read the application, right, you can go back, click this OFBI 24P8013, which will take you back to the main page. Hover over forms menu. So now that you have all the documents, now you want to start scoring the applications. Scroll down to rating sheet. You click rating sheet. And then no one here is going to recuse themselves. And these are the rating sheets, right? And so if you move this bar over, the final rating sheet is grayed out. So the only input that you can put is a preliminary rating. And so it'll ask you for project summary. Did the applicant indicate the number of years, number of people served, and types of services provided? Yes or no, and give them, and your grading could be anywhere between 0 and 2.5. And then you'll be prompted, did the organization indicate its readiness and willingness to participate and commit to strengthening its organization and sustainability? Now, where do we get those bullets from? In the grant guidelines. So if you go to the grant guidelines, what they're inputting in their application are these bullets per each specific section. So, if what's on the grading sheet answers these bullets, then we're good to go. I don't need you to do extracurricular research on the organization. The application is read and rated on its merit. And then based on the information, based on your comments, you know, based on your score, you have to put comments in here, right? So if they scored a 2.5 and a 2.5 for both of them, you need to indicate why they scored a 2.5, right? You know, the applicant did indicate the number of years and the number of people served and the type of services provided, and they also indicated their readiness and willingness to participate and commit to strengthening its organization's sustainability. You put that in here because it's important that we get these comments, because if they don't get funded for whatever the reason, they're going to want to get feedback, and we pull the feedback specifically from your comments. And so you go down each section, right, that aligns with the grant guidelines and aligns with their application. And if they answer the bullet, you know, to your specification, then you know, you score them appropriately, and then you keep it moving. Once you score everything, yeah, target population doesn't have a score, so that's why they're both grayed out. Once you put all your scores in, then you come down to the bottom, and it'll total it up. And we don't. I mean, if funding is available, do you recommend funding for this applicant? This is the initial score version of it. So you can either put yes or no, because it doesn't impact us right now. What impacts us is what your final decision is when you do the deliberations, right? And so the deliberation process is the same thing. You would come, access your application. All three panels would be reviewing the same application, and you would be going section by section. Someone would say, hey, what did you, on the project summary for the first bullet, what did you score? And Eddie will say, I scored them a 0 because they didn't speak to it for the final score. And then somebody said, well, I scored it a 1. And then somebody will say, oh, I scored it a 2. And if somebody scored it a 0, then there needs to be a conversation because somebody missed something. Either Eddie didn't read it, or he didn't see anything in there that spoke to the bullet, or Samantha read it. Oh no, yeah, or Samantha read it but got confused and wasn't sure what was going on. So there's a conversation, and then collectively you would put your individual final scores in, because then the preliminary ratings will be grayed out, and then the final ratings will be put in, and then you have to put your comments here as well for the final. Why did you change your score? Why did you change your score? And what was the reason for the either increase or decrease? That's all. And then you'll do that for the deliberation, and you'll come down, and every time you indicate something on this particular page, you always have to go to the top and click save. You always have to go to the top and click save. And so everybody will have to, you know, and the initial scores are individual scores. The initial scores are individual scores. And then the deliberations are collective scores. So you don't all have to score the same score on the final score, but you all have to have a conversation. And so I'm going to need you to, at minimum, get together as a panel and say, hey, Eddie, this is when we want to deliberate. So the initial scores are due on the 18th of May. All deliberations will be done in June. And then once the deliberations are done, all stipends will be released in July. So if you have any questions, you can call me on my cell, 732-289-1896. It's on one of the webinars. Or you can email me. I really appreciate your commitment to this process. And if you have any questions, again, give me a holler. All right, talk to everybody later.